On March 16th, 2022, Andrew Berry made one of his best moves as Cleveland Browns general manager in acquiring Amari Cooper, then from the Dallas Cowboys, for a fifth-round pick. Just with every good move, you need to know when to get out of the move. That day was today. Amari Cooper traded to the Buffalo Bills. We'll talk about it. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. We appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. The everyday crowd is a great bunch. You want to be part of it. Subscribe to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Do not miss any of the action. The show is also available and always free wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Tuesday, right? Normally think it's a quiet day in the NFL, not much going on, but there is one thing Tuesday is good for in the NFL. It is usually, if there are trades within the NFL, usually done on a Tuesday. Devontae Adams moved from the Raiders to the Jets. Shortly thereafter that, the Cleveland Browns finally make the decision on Amari Cooper, and Amari Cooper has been traded to the Buffalo Bills for a third-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. The Browns send a sixth-round pick in the 2026 Draft to the Bills for also a 2026 seventh-round pick. Now, certainly Amari Cooper has been a huge talking point since the end of last season, all through the offseason. Amari Cooper, as all wide receivers were cashing in, and a lot of receivers were getting a lot of money. Amari Cooper, after two incredible, and let's not sell this short in any way whatsoever, Amari Cooper's 2022 and 2023 season with the Cleveland Browns was crazy good, was crazy impressive. The fact that he played with multiple quarterbacks, two quarterbacks in 2022. 2023 played with four quarterbacks and still put up an outstanding production. But the Browns were showing no movement whatsoever to extend a relationship with Amari Cooper beyond 2024. A lot of fans were certainly upset about it. I remarked several times that, with Amari Cooper and that age of 30 and skilled players in the NFL, the Browns seemed like they were not and were adamant about the fact that 2024 was going to be it. Even so much so, they traded a fifth-round pick for wide receiver Jerry Jeudy from the Denver Broncos and extended him basically right away. Now, summer went on, and, Amari was holding his sit-in, obviously. The Browns, as this was going on, were holding conversations. We're working on a trade compensation package with the San Francisco 49ers to acquire wide receiver Brandon Ayuik. We're working on extension talks, so if they got Brandon Ayuik, they could quickly get him extended and then obviously move on from Amari. Now, then they meet with Amari shortly before the season is about to start, and they guarantee Amari guarantee more money for Amari for the 2024 season. Now, there were two thoughts here, and both are probably true. One, they were extending an olive branch, and they were trying to appease Amari Cooper. One, for not giving him an extension, which he was certainly hoping for and certainly was worthy of. Let's make a mistake that about as well. Amari Cooper did deserve a contract extension. The Browns just saw it another way. Now, also the other thing was, by guaranteeing a large amount of the 2024 contract, it also meant Amari's money week by week was going to dwindle, which was always going to make him a very possible trade target for the Browns as 2024 went on, if it didn't go as expected. Well, at 1-5, the Cleveland Browns are certainly at the point of not what was expected, at least in their own eyes. So you have a team like the Buffalo Bills and, moved on from Stephon Diggs, tried to address the wide receiver position. And there's some good receiving options in Buffalo. Khalil Shakir is a nice player. Keon Coleman is probably not ready to be a full-time producer yet for Buffalo, but here you are, the Buffalo Bills at 4-2, and you need a little something extra to get you through the remaining parts of the regular season, and you certainly would like a bigger proven presence for Josh Allen in the playoffs. So obviously that's where the discussions begin. For the Browns, you knew you weren't going anywhere with Amari in 2025. So the question was, were you keeping him around for 2024 as long as you were in it? Again, you're 1-5. You're not in anything. Amari's play has certainly been inconsistent thus far in 2024. Not all of it on him. Look, the drops certainly on him. A lot of targets that are just not in the stratosphere of even being attempted to be caught by Amari Cooper. Certainly not on him, certainly on the quarterback. So you get into these discussions, and look, I don't think the Browns are waving the white flag of surrender. I don't think a team that's playing as poorly as they are right now, there's not any player on this roster, if they were to move on from, you would say that would, derail them from any possibility of, getting this back on track quickly and all of a sudden running off 4 or 5 wins. Don't think it's going to happen. But I also don't think if it was to I don't think the fact that they don't longer have Amari Cooper is what's going to hold you back from a possible run. Again, I don't think the run's going to happen. So you send Amari to Buffalo. You acquire a 3rd-round pick. The Browns now would have 4 picks within the top 100 in the 2025 NFL draft. We're going to start delving into draft talk, but that's not the point of this episode here today. For Amari, it was a great run here. And, who knows what his feelings truly were when he was first traded here. At the time, Deshaun Watson was not the quarterback yet. He didn't know if he was coming into Baker Mayfield or if he was coming into basically an unknown to be, the person that was going to feed him for the next couple of years. What he did here as a player, as a person, as a teammate, Amari Cooper is a stand-up quality guy, a pro's pro. You certainly wish it would have maybe ended better. It did end pretty good, though. Amari's going to go off to Buffalo and probably going to go have another little playoff run, later on this year. So congratulations. Amari Cooper was an outstanding Cleveland Brown. But there are certainly reasons that the move made sense, things I have talked about in prior weeks, things we'll delve a little bit deeper into as we continue here. Your latest Locked On Browns. The Browns have traded Amari Cooper to the Buffalo Bills. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my pick or your picks hit, I can get my money or you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. Look, the Browns haven't been kind in the last couple of weeks, but Nick Chubb getting back to action this week certainly is going to want to bring some people to the wagering table. You're probably going to get some real low numbers on Browns receiving targets without Amari Cooper being there. Somebody is going to pick up that slack. We'll talk about that later in the week. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. Want to appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. The everydayers are a bunch of crazy maniacs. We love them to death. You need to join the everydayers, become a Locked On Browns everydayer. Subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. Breaking news, highlight news of the day. Tuesday, normally quiet. But Amari Cooper has now been traded to the Buffalo Bills. The Browns will receive the Bills' 2025 third-round draft choice. The Browns will send a sixth-round pick in the 2026 draft to the Buffalo Bills. The Bills, in turn, will also send their 2026 seventh-round pick to the Cleveland Browns. Now, I'd spoken now probably for weeks. The Browns with Amari Cooper, and it was obviously flat out on the table. There was no way around it. There was no denying it. There was no hiding it. Whenever the Browns season ended in Cleveland in 2024 is also when Amari Cooper's tenure with the Cleveland Browns was going to end. Now, Amari Cooper was getting a boatload of targets, was getting the most targets. Some of that certainly had to do with David Njoku being sidelined, throwing more because you're losing, not having the threat of a running game in Nick Chubb. All of those things certainly factored into it. But that would have been fine and dandy if the Cleveland Browns were winning. The Browns have not been winning. Amari Cooper has dropped a lot of passes. So the Browns, who behind Amari Cooper, have Jerry Jeudy, who they've already heavily invested in. Now, they need to have an answer on Jerry Jeudy by the time this season ends. Do they think he's a wide receiver one? Probably not. Are they confident he could be a wide receiver two? Well, they damn well sure be, because they're paying him like a wide receiver two. They don't know what they have in Cedric Tillman. He hasn't gotten any opportunities this year. Elijah Moore is in a contract year. He's not getting much love in this offense right now. So there's no way for him to figure out what his market is going to be worth, whether it is to the Browns or whether it would be on the open market, because he's not getting very many targets. David Bell was a player we thought we were going to see more of. Unfortunately, David, a very heinous injury, and his season ended early. Jamari Thrash, fifth-round pick in this past draft, has not played at all yet in 2024. So the Browns, knowing they were going to move on from Amari Cooper after the season, had decisions to make and needed to see these younger guys play. That wasn't happening. They weren't getting any idea of where these guys were developing, how they were developing, what their future roles could possibly be with this team. So at 1-5, cut the top of the food chain off at wide receiver. Now you have no choice but to see where Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, Elijah Moore, Jamari Thrash, and also, this is a name I have talked about a little bit over the last couple of weeks here. Kadarius Toney is a former first-round pick. He also won 2 Super Bowls with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's almost back to a full workload on the Browns practice squad. You want to see what you got in a guy like this. Kadarius Toney is an electric athlete. He is great with the ball in his hands. He's got great return skills, holds the NFL Super Bowl record for longest punt return in a Super Bowl. So this is a player the Browns want to see. Could this be a guy that could maybe, and a lot of it has to do with Kadarius Toney towing the line and also not being a knucklehead, whether or not he can be a part of their future plans. There's no way to develop all these young kids. There's no way to get a read on the future of all these young kids when Amari Cooper's getting 10-plus targets a game. It's just impossible to do. You struck while the iron was hot. The Bills, I originally thought that maybe the Browns could possibly get a second-round pick for Amari Cooper. With the way he has looked this year, that wasn't going to be an option. Thought Kansas City certainly would be involved. Who knows if they were? Who knows if the Bills pulled the trigger first? None of these things we know the answers to, but we do know for now that Amari Cooper is going to be a Buffalo Bill. So that certainly, tipped the hand for the Browns, because there's no sense in say Amari picked it up and was lights out for the rest of the year. He was going to play himself certainly into a contract that the Browns were never going to pay. So the Browns would have had Amari Cooper had a really nice year for them and had no way of knowing what the rest of that wide receiver room looks like going further. So this was a move that just absolutely had to be done. Also, with Nick Chubb slated to return Sunday, you do believe the Browns are probably going to run the ball a little bit more. They were running it effectively Sunday in Philadelphia. Now you are going to sub back in Nick Chubb into this running back rotation. It's certainly not going to be a large amount of touches or a large amount of carries for Nick Chubb, but there will be a defined role for number 24. I think we all can agree on that. So it's, a guy that was just appreciated and respected and loved by fans in Amari Cooper. And, I think that's what sometimes leads to, the oddity of fans not understanding why there was no possibility whatsoever of the Browns having any interest in extending him, or even more so why the Browns would possibly entertain sending Amari Cooper to the San Francisco 49ers to acquire, of course, Brandon Ayuik, pardon me. So, and then there's also, of course, the, Instagram, move or rust message that Amari Cooper left. You got to wonder if the word rust was left intentionally. Hard to get a read with a guy like Amari Cooper, because certainly plays his cards close to the vest, doesn't say much, but you have to think there's definitely a tad bit of a jab in there by using that rust comment. But you move on from a great piece, and it makes sense to move on. I am more than happy with the return, for Amari to get this opportunity. And, everybody just thinks he's going to light it up in Buffalo. Well, remember, before he came to Cleveland, there were a lot of people questioning his ability to play in the colder weather. It's probably even colder in Buffalo. Those games in January, wherever they are certainly going to be, cold, frigid. But, Amari gets to go on to a stage that's going to be a little bit bigger right now, certainly because the Buffalo Bills are more successful, and will get a chance to prove himself and, find out where the next phase of his life will be. His time here will be remembered. His time here will be appreciated. He was a really, really solid member of this organization. The trade itself by Andrew Berry paid off tenfold. They just sent Amari Cooper to Buffalo and got back a better return from when they originally acquired Amari Cooper at 27 years old a couple of years ago from the Dallas Cowboys. So this is a good trade now. It was a good trade then. Best of luck to Amari Cooper, who is now on his way to a contender. The Browns still dealing with the same questions, concerns, and we've got to talk about a statement that was made yesterday, because don't fool us. We don't want to be fooled. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. Appreciate everybody for being along for the ride. Look, basketball season is almost here. The coolest thing about you seeing all these basketball games now, you see the crossovers, all the NBA players at the WNBA games. I'm sure we're going to see that a lot as well, with all the WNBA young ladies going out to the NBA games, the pageantry, the bright lights, the big primetime matchups. You've got to check out NBA tickets, and you got to check them out with GameTime. GameTime has a new feature called GameTime Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play even easier. GameTime Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. You can use GameTime Picks, and the easiest thing is you can get a super deal. You can talk about how good it is. It will set you up with a great thing. It shows you where your seats are. It shows you what your price is right up front. You're not going to go from window to window to window to check out. And then all of a sudden, now you're talking about tickets that maybe went up $30, $40 in price from when you originally looked at them. You also will get the GameTime ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime Picks. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. We appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. The everyday crowd, you guys are incredible. I suggest everybody become an everyday or subscribe to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. Big Cleveland Browns news of the day. Amari Cooper has been traded to the Buffalo Bills. Browns receive a 2025 third-round draft choice, a 2026 seventh-round draft choice. They send to Buffalo their 2026 sixth-round pick. But it is over the Cooper era here. Coop will no longer be yelled, unfortunately. At Cleveland Browns Stadium, Amari Cooper is shuffling off to Buffalo to finish the regular season and most likely the playoffs with the Buffalo Bills. We're going to bring up one thing. Now, Coach Kevin Stefanski's Monday presser yesterday was pushed again. It took a while. Unnormal, not normal. Now, certainly a lot of questions. Was there a trade? Was it going to be their firing? All of those things. Do I think that the delay certainly had to do with, Deshaun Watson's possible benching or starting for this week? Yeah, I probably do. But this is the way you got to start to look at it here. And look, I do not think Deshaun Watson should be playing for the Cleveland Browns anymore. It absolutely should be Jameis Winston. You want to go one step further and even go with DTR. I'm starting Jameis because I want to see Jameis until I know the season is over. If I know the season is over, then I want to go see a young DTR. I know in no way whatsoever do I want to see Deshaun Watson anymore. But here's how you can look at it, maybe look at it from different parameters. If you are owner Jimmy Haslam, and say Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski, one of them, both of them, say, hey, we're going to make the pull. We're going to start Jameis Winston. We're going to sit Deshaun Watson. Obviously, Barry Stefanski would be doing it what? For the sake maybe of their own jobs, right? Trying to keep their own jobs. Meanwhile, Jimmy Haslam's retort probably is something to the nature of, guys, you said this was going to work. You traded a whole lot of draft assets to get this guy to Cleveland. Not only did you all do that, you got me to sign off on $230 million guaranteed. Deshaun Watson's getting that money one way or another. Only one way is if he screws it up, which it looks like it's probably not going to happen now. So Jimmy Haslam, in turn, is saying, I gave you $230 million guaranteed to give to this guy because you said this was going to work. Well, you want to know what? Go make it work, boys. That could be Jimmy Haslam's standpoint or stance. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but that could be his stance on why Deshaun Watson is still the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Kevin Stefanski, I don't think he believes it. I really don't. And I think Coach is up there, and I think he kind of looks kind of like a puppet right now. And I feel bad for him because I think we all appreciate Coach Kevin Stefanski. Also, the way Coach speaks, though, when teams are winning, your coach can say whatever. Nobody cares what he says in a Monday presser. When your team is losing, somebody could ask him what he had for breakfast, and he could say, I had a bacon, egg, and cheese and a coffee. Oh, he's not a tea drinker. Oh, well, who eats the bacon, egg, and cheese? Does she have salsa egg? When you're losing, those pressers are brutal because you get picked apart for everything. Nobody wants to hear what you got to say. They want to hear what you got to say. The only reason they want to hear what you got to say is because they want to ridicule it and they want to tear it to shreds. I don't think Kevin Stefanski believes in his heart of hearts that Deshaun Watson gives him the best team to win, best chance to win. No, he doesn't. But this is what he's being told to say. Now, does Andrew Berry want Deshaun Watson to start? I don't know. Maybe they just don't know what to do at this point. But it is getting to the point where you certainly would have to be concerned a tad bit about job security for Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, because they made a heavy investment to acquire this quarterback to come here from the Houston Texans and then got the owner to sign off on $230 million guaranteed. And it is not working. That is a colossal failure And I know both of these men were just recently extended. Kind of interesting that none of us know the details on what those extensions look like. But you have two guys that stuck their necks out to get a problem child brought here, stuck their necks out even further to get the owner to not even open up a checkbook. Hell, he got him to open up a bank to give to this quarterback. And you've maybe got 2 decent halves of football this entire 2024 season from him. And if you want to say it's just 1 decent half of football, that's probably fine. But it is not working. It is a colossal failure. And could heads roll? Sure. People have been fired for less in this league. So there's your stance, and there's your issue with Stefanski, Berry, and certainly Jimmy Haslam. Does this mean Deshaun Watson should be starting? No. But does it maybe make some sense as to why Deshaun Watson is? Probably. I am Jeff Lloyd. Your biggest news of the day, Amari Cooper, consummate pros pro, Cleveland Brown, 2+ seasons, was an incredible player on the field, off the field, in the locker room. Unfortunately, the Browns made a move that was probably the right move to make. Amari Cooper has been traded to the Buffalo Bills. Browns will get 2 draft choices. They will send 1 draft choice back to Buffalo. Thank you, Amari. Best to you. Again, I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. We appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. The everyday crowd, you're a bunch of filthy animals. We want more filthy animals. So subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel, become a filthy animal and an everydayer. And of course, the show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.